What do you want?
Hello everyone, this is Brian Bentley at CoinOpTV bringing you gameplay and commentary for Tales of Xillia 2 on the PlayStation 3. The Tales series is a long-standing Japanese role-playing game by Bandai Namco that sort of has always run parallel to the releases of Final Fantasy, but they have a completely different feel, where Final Fantasy has more of this, like, oh my god, it's the end of the world, and we have buckles. The Tales series has more been about growing as a person, friendship, working as a team, looking at the positivity of the world and making it a better place. Not to say that this is in any way childish or for the younger audience. This is a serious JRPG, Japanese role-playing game, that wants to get you involved in the many aspects of what a Japanese role-playing game is. So there is a lot of collectibles, there are a lot of cutscenes, there's a lot of story involved. There are a lot of different mechanics that you kind of have to, get into and kind of really delve, deep into. Like, this is not something where you're going to sit here and mash buttons. Like, you're actually, especially when we get to, like when there's combat, you really have to, use the different moves or magic you have, which they call spirit arts, or, use the different type of weapons or physical abilities that you have, as well as balancing the strategy of the supporting characters around you. So in Tales of Xillia 2, it's very much a sequel to the original Tales of Xillia 1, and it starts off about a year later. So in Tales of Xillia 1, they worked together as a team, and they broke the Great Schism that separated Rize Maxia, which is where we are now, and Olympias, where we're going to head towards. So once we have to get on the ship and head back over to start heading back over towards Olympios. So the first thing I wanted to show was my kitty comes back. So one of the aspects of the game is called Kitty Dispatch, and you'll see in the bottom right corner that it said your kitty has returned. So you go to Kitty Dispatch, and I have 19 of the 100 kitties, and you'll actually see me later collect one of the 100 kitties. And depending on where you've been, you can select that area, and then the kitty goes off and collects either rare or uncommon items for you to use in your custom weapons and the other collectible jobs that you have. So I moved ahead. There was a lot of me running, which I'm sure is very exciting to some of you. It definitely lengthened the amount of time for this movie. So one of the reason I left this particular aspect in here is, you'll notice that I have a choice between L1 and L2 of what to say to this young lady. And my choice, when I pressed the L1 button, I chose to say, "My friends." And that actually, you notice that there were 3 little faces underneath. And that increased my affinity with them. So for each character, not L, and I do love the kitty, Rolo, he's great. So for the main playable characters, you have a certain level of affinity. Now, as your affinity grows with them, and you can do that by either making choices, like you saw where their little face appeared, and so there's that. You can also link with them in battle, and that means that there are times where you can do joint moves together, and then you go back to back. You're like, yeah. So now I had grown my affinity with Jude, this character now, and it had gone to, I think it's I'm on the 3rd level of affinity with him now. So now there's a little short skit, and then you receive an item. So growing your affinity helps, as well as by growing your affinity with a certain person. I'm saying affinity a lot. By growing that level with that person, you can also open up side quests. Or, as you'll see after I have my talk here with the CEO, Bisley Bakur, there is a bonus scene with Leia, the young lady with the pink jacket and the... I don't actually know what else she's wearing.
Which one first?
There's Leia, because she's wearing a pink jacket, Jude, he's wearing a green jacket, and Alvin's the tall one.
The police's most wanted list.
So this is more of a regular choice. It really doesn't matter what you choose. There is some difference in, as well as, what type of, back and forth, like, how the actual dialogue goes. And one of the things that I love about Tales games is just how... I'm going to say this, and there's going to be some that disagree with me, but how well it's written. So, Tales has its own voice. It's sort of like this level of corniness that is both comedic and endearing. So, at first you're kind of like, oh, geez, you're like, definitely doing the face palm thing when they use some of these jokes, especially at the end of a battle. Sometimes they'll do like, yeah, let's do a pose together. You're like, we just finished a battle, we're in the middle of a field full of enemies, but let's do a friendship pose. You're like, yeah! And you're like, okay, I'm okay with that, because it's a Tales game, and that's what I love about Tales games, is, it really is about the friendship, it's about, working together. You'll notice I have this giant, doll attached to my arm, which I find hilarious. So what happened is when I originally loaded up Tales of Xillia 2, it said, "Oh, hey, you know what? You have a former save file from Tales of Grace's F." And I was like, "Yes," because I did that review for us here at CoinOpTV. And it was like, "Here, and because you have that, here's a stuffed plushie doll that you can, wear." And I'm like, "Okay, what does it do?" I'm like looking for stats. No. It doesn't do anything. It's purely cosmetic. Including that hat that I made all of our characters wear. I made all the characters wear the hat because I can. So I go into the menu that tells me, okay, I'm putting this thing on my arm, and it says, "Would you like to enlarge it?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So I made it as big as humanly possible, which actually makes it even funnier, especially when we get to these type of skits or. Sorry, these are not skits, these are cutscenes. Skit is what you'll see a little right after this cutscene. But someone will talk, and the giant arm doll thing will be in the way. So it's just the giant... So it almost looks like Sophie, the giant arm doll from Tales of Grace's F, is doing the talking, even though she's not. So, as far as the story goes, and this is, I think, Chapter 6 of the main story... You are Luger Kresnik. You're the guy with the sort of silvery hair with the black, and I did ask my wife if I could color my hair that way, and she said no. So, you are Luger Kresnik. Now, your brother Julius has gone rogue. Alright, at least as far as this point in the story. So, there are these fractured timelines that he's been going in and destroying. Now, the thing is you're like half brothers with Julius or whatever, and now all of a sudden you're hunting him down because you too have the special ability of Chromata. It's a curse slash a bonus effect skill that you can do that only people in the Kresnik line can do. Blah blah blah. You find out during this cutscene, or during this cutscene in the one down below, where we're going to go downstairs to the training room in the basement, because every corporation has giant training room in the basement. Whatever. So the whole story actually begins with you trying to become an agent and failing. Now all of a sudden the CEO wants you to be an agent and hunt down your half-brother Julius. So obviously there's something shady about this guy. Oh, see right there. Looked like the doll was talking. It wasn't. It was L. But in truth, this CEO guy, he's pretty shady. He's the Emperor Palpatine to this game. It's pretty obvious from the beginning, but that's okay. So here now, because I had built up my affinity with Leia, I am able to have this special bonus scene. which I think is actually pretty cool. I mean, it really fleshes out, doesn't make it feel like you're just going through the motions of these stories. You're really getting in depth with who these people are, and especially if you had played the original Tales of Xillia, you're very familiar with all these characters, minus Luger, the guy you're there with the yellow tie and the giant thing on his arm, and Elle and Rollo. So Elle is the young girl, and Rollo is the giant fat cat. So now we have a chance to watch a skit, so I just wanted to kind of give you an idea what a skit is. It's slightly different. There is definitely some exposition and stuff. There's quite a bit of reading. But overall, it definitely kind of puts more of a... it puts more of the backstory in it. So that's what I really, really like about it. So yeah, so this is definitely more of a story-driven video, and I really don't know what else to say. So there's going to be we're going to have some combat at the end where we're going to show you the special transformation where I'm able to use my chromata to jump to a fractured dimension in order to fight enemies. And I think it's kind of an interesting an interesting take that you kind of have this extra skill involved. So we're going to go ahead and see that as soon as I finish up with the skit and move. Well, first I want to pick up my 20th kitty of the 100. So how the 100 kitties? Apparently, someone in your building has 100 cats in her apartment, and she lost them, all of them, and so she asked you to go pick them up. Now, mind you, this is kind of where you kind of have to suspend your disbelief as far as story goes within a Japanese role-playing game, because so we're on Olympias right now, all right, and this is where Luger's and Julius's apartment is. So now this woman who lives in Olympias has lost all her cats. Now, when we started off, we were in. We start off the story. We were in. Not Niakara. We were in. A Lady Sea Haven. So okay, here I'm going to pick up a cat. So you collect these cats, and then you can actually send off. And the more cats there are, the more you can send in kitty dispatch. The better the stuff that comes back. So what I find hilarious about this is I actually found a cat at the summit of a mountain on the other continent, on Rize Maxia. So think about that. She lost the cat. The cat somehow got on a boat, went across the ocean, got off, and then climbed a mountain. Why? Because it's a Japanese role-playing game. That's why. So we're going to jump in here and learn about how to use the chromatus skills. Now, there is going to be a cut where between when I learned when they showed me the power swing and the hexamata. It took me a long time to get the button presses down for whatever reason. So you're going to see a quick jump after I do the power swing, because it's telling me how to do it now. Because a lot of times I forget that I'm recording, and then I'm just having fun and I'm just pressing buttons to see what will happen. So then I'll do the Hexentia right then. So yeah, the battle system's really, it can be really great. Right now it's just me, but a lot of times there is myself and 3 other playable characters. And you can switch off if you actually want to, but one of the things, and in Tales of Grace's F, they definitely focused on a little more of that, where you had to, you definitely wanted to be the other characters. This, it's all about, to me it's about being Luger, and really going through it as him, as that main character. That's why he has, dual blades that he can use. He can also use a giant hammer. He can also use guns for, long effects. And then, obviously, if you go to the fractured dimension using the chromatus, you can use that spear weapon. So, really, it's about being Luger. And I really like that there's that focus on the one guy for the entire story. So right now, we're going to see that there's a link between Luger and Elle's father. So now we're going to go off. I'm going to go on and move on with the story after this, but not in this video. So, make sure that you go ahead and like the video and leave any comments you have below. We definitely are interested in what you have to say and in joining us in the community. Also, be sure to subscribe to the CoinOpTV YouTube page so you can get more on Tales of Xillia 2 and all the games that are coming out in the upcoming year. So I pick up the phone and she goes, "You're way late on your payments." And I'm like, "But I've gotten like a dozen bonuses in my mailbox for paying ahead." I don't know what you're talking about, lady. But, you know, that's just how, you know, these games go sometimes. Alright, that's it for me. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Nobody likes a financial deadbeat. So much for resting up.